I'd like to welcome with me today Jillian Reed and Ron Graham. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, so we're here to talk. The White Ribbon Campaign has begun. And Jillian, let's start with what exactly the White Ribbon Campaign is.
So the White Ribbon Campaign is actually an international campaign of men and boys working to end violence against women. And we're doing it here in Cornwall for, I think, the fifth year, we think?
Fifth year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron's been part of it since the beginning, so he can probably talk a bit more about what we're doing here in Cornwall.
Yeah, it was a whole movement where started off as at a conference in Coburg and somebody presented it, and this has taken off in the last 5 years. It's in 60 different countries right now, and men need to speak out on this issue. At one time it was always a women's issue, and men need to speak out and say that gender equality is here and we need to talk about it and put an end to the violence towards women.
Absolutely, and I'll just ask you, Ron, as a man, why is it important to you personally to get involved with this?
I have my son growing up. He was actually actively involved in the campaigns in the past. We were doing the ribbons on a tree, and he was taken into the newspapers with that. And it's all about telling young people that times are changing, and men need to speak out and say it's not acceptable. And the more we get the message in, I think, and that's why we're in the schools. We want to get the message out at a young age so they get that and understand it.
Absolutely. And one thing I'm hearing a lot recently is just with recent events, as much as progress has been made, it's very important to keep the progress that we've made, as well as continue to make progress.
Exactly.
I agree.
Right. So we're wearing these white ribbons. So let's talk about exactly what they signify when you're wearing it. Is it a sign of solidarity, of remembrance for maybe? Let's talk about that.
Well, so we're doing the campaign at this time of year because December 6th is the National Day for Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. So that's the day when the Montreal Massacre took place, where a group of women were actually murdered in school. And so we do the campaign around this time of year as a remembrance for that, but also to signify, in this case, we're actually doing a pledge that we're having high school students sign. And so wearing the ribbon kind of signifies that, yeah, I did take that pledge, that I'm not going to commit, condone, or stand silent when I see violence against women.
That's an excellent point. And why is it so important to reach out to students in schools with this pledge? Because you'll be in the schools in the next couple of weeks. I
think it's just a really key age as you're starting to get into relationships to really acknowledge that this is a thing. I think that I remember being in school and talking about, okay, we shouldn't be violent, but what does that actually look like? So engaging and having more conversations than just a teacher kind of throwing it in there, I think is really important, especially having male role models in the community. Reiterating that message is really important.
Right. Now this is something, as you mentioned before, this is something you've been doing for several years now. You've been in the schools. Let's talk about reception that you've gotten over the last couple of years.
Every year that we go back, I feel like the kids remember us. They're like, oh, you're back, I signed up before, and they're really happy to have us back. That's what I can say.
And the principals are very happy to have us there. And it's easier to get in every year and do our campaign. They remember us from last year, and the kids remember us, so it's a constant reminder.
Absolutely. Now, people want to get involved. They might not be at the schools. How can they support during these next couple of weeks? How can they support the cause?
Well, they can follow Sexual Assault Support Services on Facebook, and we'll be sharing what we're doing, share that around. Just to let more people know, we do have white ribbons, male role models in the community. If they want to be involved, they can contact me at volunteer@sassforwomen.ca, and hopefully we will be able to get them to join us to promote the message in the schools if you're available for that.
And if your agency wants to be part and want a bunch of ribbons, we'd be more than happy to drop them off.
Absolutely.
And participate. And the ribbons also were being made over the years in the schools. Kids were making volunteer hours, so that gets that talk going as they're working in resource rooms and talk about violence against women. So that's another aspect of it, that the kids were making these.
Excellent. Well, I wish you both the best of luck with this. I encourage everybody to wear a white ribbon, sign the pledge if you can. If you see the volunteers out and about in the schools, sign the pledge and support putting an end to violence against women. And I want to thank Jillian and Ron for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.